Hi, I'm Susan Keefe from Rhubarb Cod, and today I'm making tri-tip tacos with Chipotle Peanut Sauce. I was first introduced to the charms of tri-tip when I visited San Diego, California about 10 years ago. It was love at first bite, so I was disappointed to learn that it was mostly a California thing. And it's true, when I returned to Canada, it was nearly impossible to find the cut. In the intervening years though, tri-tip has become I apologize to the camera. I'm sorry. In the intervening years though, tri-tip has become increasingly easy to source, although it is still far from commonplace. But before I go any further, let's talk about what tri-tip actually is. The tri-tip is a triangular subprimal cut of beef that's sourced from the bottom sirloin. It's known by several other names like the Newport steak, Santa Maria steak, triangle tip, and triangle steak. So that's what a tri-tip is, but how do you cook it? Well, I'm ashamed to say I didn't know when I embarked on this journey, so I used Sal from S.J. Cook's method as a guide. The method is a low-temperature reverse sear, and we cooked it on our Weber kettle using regular charcoal briquettes. So let's get into it. First, we're going to trim our tri-tip. Tri-tip is a well-marbled piece of meat, so the fat cap isn't completely necessary. And since we're planning on cooking it for a short amount of time over a low temperature, the fat cap isn't likely to render fully out. It should be render out fully, but that's okay. You know what I mean. And grilling your tri-tip with a fat cap on can cause flare-ups. There is also a lot of tough silver skin underneath that fat, which can make chewing difficult. So try to remove as much as possible. I'm not the best at trimming meat, so don't judge me. And if you must, do so quietly. Getting the fat cap out of there also allows you to season more of the meat, which brings me to the next step, seasoning our meat. This part really couldn't be easier. Simply place your tri-tip in a small baking sheet and rub it all over with your favorite barbecue rub. John from Skull and Mortar was kind enough to send me his original barbecue rub, which really made my tri-tip sing. I am in no way compensated to say that, I just really think it's a good rub. Next, we're going to place a cooling rack inside of the baking sheet and place the tri-tip on top. Transfer the meat to the fridge and let chill uncovered overnight. You can dry brine your tri-tip for a shorter amount of time, but just remember that the longer you leave it, the better the flavor. When you're ready to cook your tri-tip, remember to take it out of the fridge a full hour before you place it on the grill. We want the meat to come up to room temperature. Now it's time to prep your barbecue. As I mentioned, we're using a Weber kettle, and we used regular charcoal briquettes. You can get fancy with your fuel, we didn't. Start by filling 2 baskets with 10 charcoal briquettes each. Wad up some paper and place it underneath the chimney on top of a grill. Fill the chimney with a layer of briquettes, we used about 20. Then light the paper on fire. Once you've got a good flame going, let the briquettes burn until they turn white. Once the briquettes are white hot, pour them evenly over the 2 baskets. Cover the barbecue and fully open the vents. Heat the barbecue until it reaches 275 degrees Fahrenheit. It was fairly cold and It was fairly cold and windy the day we filmed this because Canada, so we used quite a bit of fuel. You may not have to use as much. Once your grill is up to temperature, place the tri-tip on indirect heat. Cover and cook until the meat registers an internal temperature of 115 degrees Fahrenheit. This should take about 30 minutes. While the tri-tip is chugging away, let's make the Chipotle Peanut Sauce. This sauce is in no way traditional, but the flavor profile was inspired by salsa macha, a condiment made from dried chilies, garlic, sesame seeds, and peanuts toasted in hot oil. The sauce hails from Veracruz, Mexico, but what you're about to see here is definitely not that. Start by placing a can of chipotle peppers packed in adobo in a glass large enough to accommodate an immersion blender. Add half a cup of natural, crunchy peanut butter, 1/3 of a cup of rice vinegar, and 2 tablespoons of honey. Give everything a blitz before adding 2 tablespoons of sesame oil and the juice of 1 lime. Blitz again until everything is fully integrated. If your sauce is too thick, thin it out with a little water. I wound up adding about 3 tablespoons. Next, finely dice half a red onion. Then, using a mandolin or a sharp chef's knife, slice 1 jalapeno. I'll do it again. Then, using a mandolin or a sharp chef's knife, slice 1 jalapeno into thin rings. I went fairly simple with my taco toppings because the sauce has so much going on, and I wanted to leave enough space for the meat to shine. Also, tortillas are not load-bearing elements. Too many toppings frequently results in a mess. Now, back to the tri-tip. Once your tri-tip has reached an internal temperature of 115 degrees Fahrenheit, place it directly over the hot coals and sear on both sides until it reaches an internal temperature of 130 degrees Fahrenheit. We were targeting the rare to medium rare that tri-tip is generally thought to be best served at, but you do you. Take the meat off of the grill and wrap it in tin foil. Let rest for a minimum of 20 minutes. While the meat is resting, place corn tortillas on the grill. We don't want to toast them until they're rigid. We just want to warm them and get a little color on them. Transfer them to a tortilla warmer and set them aside. Then, let the slicing begin. I sliced my tri-tip fairly thin because that's how I had it when I initially... That's not what I meant. That's not what I said. That's not what I wrote. What did I say? Because that's how I initially had it years ago. That is. There are people in San Diego that serve it that way, so don't at me. This is the defensive video.
Yeah, my favorite part.
Don't judge me. Do what you want. I use cheap fuel. Speaking of slicing, next, let the slicing begin. I tried to slice my tri-tip fairly thinly because that's how I first experienced it years ago. But if you like chunkier pieces of meat and you value the health of your wrist and your forearms, by all means, slice your tri-tip thicker. Now, let's build those tacos. Start by placing 3 to 4 pieces of tri-tip in the center of a corn tortilla. Top the meat with a little bit of the Chipotle Peanut Sauce. Add a sprinkling of finely diced red onions, 2 to 3 jalapeno rings, and a sprig of fresh cilantro. Serve immediately with a couple of lime wedges and a round of ice-cold beers. And there you go, tri-tip tacos with Chipotle Peanut Sauce. I hope you try this one. And if you do give it a go, let me know how it went in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to this channel. I post a new recipe every week and a ton of goodies along the way. Thank you for grilling with me. I'll see you all next time.